guys, what's up? It's Natasha and welcome back to this week's video. Today I will be discussing my top 12 favorites of the last half of 2022. I hope that makes sense. If you want, you can go check out the first half of 2022 right up here. But before we get started, there's just a few things that I need to discuss with you. The majority of this video is going to be me in the past. Because I recorded this video last year when I did the Vlogmas series, and I thought I was going to upload this video before the end of the year. Unfortunately, and fortunately for me, I guess, there was just too many things going on. I didn't get a chance to upload this video, so I saved it for this year. And then I got married at the beginning of the year and everything was just so snowball effect that I didn't get a chance to actually breathe and upload videos. But I'm glad to say we are back in business, we are carrying on, so that is why you'll see me in a different background and with a different shirt on, so you know. And then my December wrap up I will give in this situation, because I gave a preliminary what I thought was going to be my favorite books in December. Boy was I wrong, because I didn't know that 2 hours before midnight I would finish the most amazing book that I have ever read. But stay tuned for that. So before we get started, please remember to like the video, subscribe, and comment down below what was your favorite books for the last half of 2022. And let's just jump right into the video. So the first book I loved in what was essentially July was Catching Fire, and it is the second book in the Hunger Games trilogy. I'm not going to delve into the Hunger Games trilogy because I'm assuming a lot of us know what the book is about. But essentially it's just a dystopian novel. It is the best dystopian that I have read so far. Fight me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments what do you think, but I think The Hunger Games was just an amazing read, and it was just an amazing series. I just am very upset about the last one, but you know, what can you do about that? And then the second book that I really enjoyed in July was Glow by Raven Kennedy, and this is so far the fourth book in the Plato Prisoner series. I'm not sure how many books there are going to be, but there's a fifth one coming out next year in June, I think the 18th, if I'm not mistaken. Plato Prisoner series is about this girl who she's gold everywhere except for her eyes and her teeth, because you know, that would make it weird. Anyway, and how she travels through the kingdom where she lives, and how she discovers who is the enemy, the real enemy, and who she can trust. She's also trying to hone her powers. It's essentially a King Midas retelling, but there's a twist, because King Midas is not who he says he is, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Be sure to check it out, it's really good. I'm just going to put this out there. The first book, I think it was Guild, yeah, that actually put me off, and I didn't want to continue the series again because I thought the whole series was going to be like that. And then FOMO hit me because I saw everyone was talking about Glow, and I was like, maybe I should just, you know, read the books. And I did, and I enjoyed them. So yeah, it comes to show you that don't always stop at the first book. If you go to the second book and you don't like it, then that's your sign. Don't continue reading it. But yeah, the third book, which is also the first book in August, was No Humans Involved by Kelly Armstrong. And this is about a necromancer and how she takes on this show where she is essentially going to live in a house where they are going to talk to spirits. But what the producers don't know, and what Jamie also doesn't know, is that this place is haunted, and not by what, but small children. And the more they dive into this weird kind of mystery, the more you get to learn that there were some dark things happening in this house. And Jamie teams up with werewolves, with witches, with vampires, and they just try and solve this mystery. She is trying to discover how she can communicate with the children and try and save their souls. And then the fourth book is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This book is basically about an 18-year-old who has this essay that she needs to write, and what she decides she's going to do is she's going to prove the innocence of one of the guys who was found guilty for another girl in the city's or in the town's murder, but she believes this guy didn't do it. And she gets the help from this guy's brother because the essential guilty party actually died. So there was never like this true closed case situation, and she continued to believe that he didn't do it. And this whole series of just how she talks to people, and it's a mixed kind of multimedia book in there. I highly suggest listening to the audiobook because that just makes it even better. There are times where she records herself and you hear while you listen to the audiobook, you hear how she's recording. Or when she talks to someone on the phone, it actually sounds like a conversation on the phone. It's not just this where you read in your head, but you continue to read the same. You know, I haven't read the rest of the series, but yeah, it was all around a good time. I might delve back into the series, I think, next year, but it's not my top priority. Then the next book, which was also my favorite in September, was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this book follows, I believe she was an actress in the 50s, 60s, around there. And she calls this tabloid, all this newspaper people, and she's like, there's only one person who I want to sell my story to, and she works for you, but she's like lower class working for them. She's just there. You know, when you start a job, you're just there. Yeah, she's that kind of person. And they say, no, but we can give you someone better. And she's like, no, I want this girl. And at first, while I was reading it, I was like, okay, why? You know, I know there has to be a reason, but what could the reason be? Anyway, turns out there's a whole lot of mystery behind Evelyn Hugo and why she had 7 husbands and the true love that she actually had. And she explains all this to this journalist. Before she sells the story, she tells the journalist that I might have told you that you have to write this for the newspaper, but I want you to write my biography. Every single word I'm telling you now, you have to write in the biography. And this girl says, or the journalist says, but you contacted the newspaper. And she's like, no, I know, but I want you to write the story. Damn the consequences of your work. You are going to publish my biography. And yeah, it was a kind of a confusing start, but it was an amazing read in the end. And I really would suggest reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo if you ever want to try a Taylor Jenkins Reid's book, because wow, that was such a good book. The next book is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Myro. But this is basically a historical fantasy, and it's about essentially 2 kids who have supernatural abilities, and they are hunted down by this very evil kind of dog person who wants to use them for something. I think I need a reread because I rushed through the book like nobody's business. Even though it took me so long, I rushed through it. Essentially, there's also another group, the good guys, who are trying to get these children to a safe house so that they can start honing their powers and everything. The one glows so he can heal everyone, or he can burn you to death, you know, depending on how you pee him off. And the second one doesn't hurt. You cut him and his skin just grows back to normal. And it jumps between the 1800s and the past, and how this all continues to fold into one another. The next book is From Lukov with Love, and that was my ultimate favorite book in October. It's a slow burn about 2 figure skaters, the one who believes they are enemies, while the other one has been in love with her for a while. And he concocts this way of getting her onto his partner's team because they are partner figure skaters. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a partner because her partner cheated on her with someone else. So she's been just practicing around the arena, trying to keep herself fit, when Ivan Lukov comes and he's like, listen, the girl that I used to figure skate with, she's on a sabbatical for a year, so we want you to join me for a year. And then the rule would be, if we are done with the World Championship, my manager will find you someone who you can partner up with and continue with your figure skating. And after a lot of him and hawings, she finally accepts. And it's just this lovely love story about the two. And I don't really like romance books, but I just couldn't put this book down. It was so amazing. And I really would suggest, if you like slow burns, it's not that spicy, but there's a lot of I hate you, I like you kind of thing. I would definitely suggest picking this one up. The next book is Emberwood by Erin, and I believe her surname is Lemarquand. Could be wrong. I'm not always good with surnames. But this basically gives me the vibes of A Court of Thorns and Roses. It also says, for those who love From Blood and Ash, you would definitely love this book. But basically, this is about our main character called Phoebe Emberwood, and she's trying to hone her powers, and she has both fire and water powers. It's very rare in the town because they, you know, it's kind of like, ew, magic, no, kind of thing. So if anyone knows that she has magic, the whole place will burn down. The king and queen, or the rulers of this place, is embroiled in dark secrets, of which she finally discovers, and she tries to take revenge after her father is killed, only to discover even more dark secrets and even more mysteries that she's trying to unravel. And during this process, she also discovers who's really good and who's really bad, and she questions the morality of everything around her and whether she was right and these people were wrong, or the other way around. And I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I am looking forward to the second book whenever Erin writes it, but yeah, if you really want to go check it out, it's also on Kindle Unlimited. So I would highly suggest reading it because it's an amazing fantasy book. It's also not that complicated fantasy where you sit there and you're going, I don't understand. You really understand the world. It's easy to understand. Count how many times I said understand. Okay. The next book is my ultimate favorite for November, and it was The School for Good and Evil. I do not know how to pronounce the author's name and surname. I am so sorry. This has been adapted into a Netflix film, so I'm sure some of you might know what the story is about. But if you don't know, it's about two characters. The one is Sophie and the other one is Agatha. Sophie dreams about being a princess. It's all pink and beauty and frills, and she just dreams of going to the school for good so that she can learn to be the perfect princess. Agatha, on the other hand, is kind of like Sophie's charity work, can you say? Agatha doesn't believe there's a thing like the School for Good and Evil, but she humors Sophie a lot about this. It doesn't come across like that in the movie, but it's like that in the books. And Agatha is this dreary kind of looking person that wears dark clothes, just looks like a witch. So Sophie believes that she would be going to the school for evil because, just the way she looks. What then happens is they are abducted, and then this creature that drops them into the school for good and evil drops Sophie in the school for evil and Agatha in the school for good. And during this whole process, they are trying to prove to the school headmaster that Sophie is actually good and Agatha is the one who's supposed to be in the school for evil. While Agatha actually just wants to go home. She's like, I want to go home. I didn't ask to be here. I tried to save Sophie when she was abducted and I just got dragged in. There we are. It's a middle grade. It's all around a good time. I really loved it. I think I also read this over a weekend because I just couldn't put it down. So definitely a must read if you're looking for something new, some new, middle grade series. The next one is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, and this was an ARC I received from Pan Macmillan via NetGalley, and it's about two characters. One who's very, she's very flamboyant, she breaks the rules, she pushes the boundaries, and she's just that kind of person that if you tell her not to do it, she will, and she'll prove to you that she can. With sass, that kind of thing. And then the other character who's everything has to be in a box, and if it's not in a box, you are messing with his whole routine. And these two get together, and it's a clash of worlds because these two are entirely different. And then how these two characters, just get to learn to know each other, and it's written in such a beautiful way that this was the first romance book that I didn't know what the ending was going to be. And I'm sure a lot of you who read the book was like, oh yeah, sure, I think you knew where it was going to go. I honestly didn't. It could have gone either way. So if you like, Olivia Blake's writing, especially with the Atlas 6 and the Atlas Paradox, if you've read those, I would definitely suggest this book because it's so out there, but it was so good and I really, really enjoyed it. So for December, I would say my top favorite book would be Forbidden Fate by Kevin Herning. This book still sits with me. It's haunting me. I really want to delve right back into that world, and everything was just so beautiful. I'm still amazed by that book. This is Herning's debut novel, and it's about two rulers of a kingdom. Well, it's a prince and a princess. And they were friends long ago when they were like 19, and they were promised to each other. And the kingdoms that they are from are constantly in a bickering match, or they're on a fighting match actually. They don't bicker, they actually conduct war between each other. And these two's union would have solidified the two kingdoms, and they would have been together, and it would have just been, like a whole celebratory, I hope I said that word right, thing between where, they're making peace and everything. And unfortunately, something happens, of which I'm not going to spoil, and the two are cursed by the gods. And one of the gods says, if you touch each other, you will die, no matter what, and your kingdoms will die with you. So if they so much as just brush up against one another, they die. And then we fast forward a few years later where the princess is kidnapped. I can't for the life of me remember her name, but she's kidnapped by the prince, who's running like a bandit group thing against his father, might I add, but he's running that. And how these two go from enemies to lovers, and the steaminess between them, the angst between them, it is just... everything was so good. And the people you thought were guilty of everything around you, no, think again. It's not how it is. So it's wild. It ends on the biggest cliffhanger, and yeah, I'm still upset about that, by the way. I'm waiting for the next book, and I don't know when the next book's coming out. Kevin hasn't said anything, so I'm just like, help. Anyway, so gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I adored it. I really, if she brings out the second book, I will definitely read the first book again, because it's just so good. And then the last book for December, it was a very close match between Sarah Ox's The Dive and Circus by Irma Venter. And Circus is by a South African author, and I listened to it on a whim. Like, I just picked it up one day and I was like, let's just listen to it. I didn't know it was going to be that good because usually the Afrikaans stories that I listen to, they're good, but they're not like wow good. And then it was The Dive that essentially won, because I'm still thinking about that book as well. But anyway, so what The Dive is about these group of 4 people who are on an island in Thailand, I believe. The story actually circulates around 2 people, and the one is a diving instructor and the other one is a social influencer. Why can't I remember these people's names? Anyway, so the diving instructor has a very dark past that she doesn't want anyone to know about. Essentially, she was involved in a murder. This is not a spoiler, this is like given to you in chapter 2, I think, or chapter 1, it explains that she has a very dark past and she's involved in a murder, and the authorities want to know about her and everything. So we follow her, then we follow the social influencer, and she is trying to uncover the secrets of this diver. Why, we don't know. But anyway, so she's, looking into this woman's life, and she's trying to, get to know her more in a kind of sense. And one day while on this island, there are killings that are just arising. There was one isolated killing that just snowball effect everything from there, and another person got killed and another person got killed. And while diving, one of the diving instructor's students actually is found in the coral reefs, and that just raises a whole lot of other questions, and how these two team up together to actually solve the murder, I would say, and solve the issues around them, and how the group also teams up together to solve the murder. But can I say, it is not like a group murder mystery solving thing. Each and every person in that group also has a dark past, and each and every person in that group you have to, because that's all I'm going to say. It was very good. Like, I like my murder mysteries, but this one was, it even tops The Pact, of which I love. So I hope that says a lot. That is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Also subscribe and follow me on my social media platforms. I'm usually a bit more active on Instagram and sometimes on Twitter. So if you want to go follow me there, you are more than welcome to. But that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys in a video next week.